So you don't know what camera lens to buy to get the best results for your photography or videography. Never mind that, most of the good camera lenses are so pricey that you don't want to waste your money on the wrong one. So which camera lens do you buy? Imagine if there was one lens that was so goated and so versatile that you didn't even have to get a second lens unless you wanted to. Luckily for you, I have just that lens for you today. Yeah. What's good? My name is Toby, and if you watched the last video on this series on camera and video gear, you may have already copped your first camera and got a lens that comes with your camera. However, you may have realized that the stock lens that comes with your camera may not be good enough for your specific needs. For example, maybe you need it for like portraits, or you need that creamy background, or even for video, just for video wide shots, or just for shooting video in general. So when you realize this, what do? In today's video, I'm going to be helping you solve this problem ASAP of what is the best camera lens to first buy as a photographer slash videographer or content creator. In the first portion of this video, we're going to talk about photography, and in the second portion, we're going to talk about videography, then finish with a quick recap. And yeah, this video is going to be a quick one, hopefully, so let's jump right in. Right, so remember when I was telling you earlier about that, imagine if you could have that one lens that is just so versatile and goated. This is the lens right here. This is the Canon 50mm 1.8 lens, also known as the Nifty 50 lens. This lens is goated. Basically, this lens is good for shooting close-up portraits of people, and this lens is basically just it's just a beast in general when it comes to this. If you see me looking there, I just have a couple of notes to remember what I'm talking about. So yeah, same for other brands. Like if you're shooting with like Canon, if you're not shooting with Canon, if you're shooting with like Sony, shooting with Nikon, maybe even Fujifilm, something like that, always is a must-have to have a 50mm fixed lens in your camera bag. It's a non-negotiable. You should always have this, in my opinion. Basically, yeah, the only thing with this lens is what they call a fixed lens. Fixed lens, all that means is basically that you can't zoom in and out with it. There's no, like, you can see there's no zooming thing. So basically, when it comes to 50mm lens, you zoom with your feet. This is something that somebody that I know used to tell me when I was first getting started in photography. So you always want to zoom with your feet when you're using the 50mm lens. So yeah, this lens also gives your photos a really nice cinematic, creamy look when you're shooting. So you know, if you're trying to get that cinematic look, especially if you add like specific lens filters, I can talk about that later on. But yeah, this lens is very good to get that creamy cinematic look if that's what all you really are after. So yeah, that's the first thing, the main one I'm recommending for you. Get this 50mm lens, you won't regret it. Right, so next up is the Canon 18 to 55mm lens. Is a f3.5 to 5.6. This lens is really good when it comes to landscapes or shooting architecture, and yeah, it's also really good for videography on Canon, as it has a pretty nice, as you can see, has a pretty nice zoom function. And it has image stabilization built into the lens as well. This lens, so the only thing about this lens is basically this lens, when it comes to shooting people, it's not the most ideal lens, as when it comes to shooting people, basically the f-stop is the most important thing when it comes to that. So like the higher the f-stop that you have, basically the higher the f-stop you have, it gives the background more detail and more, the background is basically in the picture more. And if you have a lower f-stop, obviously that's how you get that creamy bokeh that I was talking about earlier. That's how you get that kind of creamy type of look. But obviously, as you can imagine, this means that the f-stops that are lower, you know, they're going to be more pricey. But yeah, basically, this one is really good though if like you want to get that, you know, that environment. You want to get that environment in videography and focus, and you still kind of get the like cinematic feel to it, you know what I'm saying? But it just gives it where it's not like it's not just the one subject that's the focus of the video. Basically the whole video, like as you can see this video, basically the whole video is more in focus, and the whole video is kind of like getting that feel to it. Whereas with lower f-stops, the lower f-stops, basically with those ones, you're focusing on one subject. For example, me in this video, like I'm the subject, you're focusing on that subject, and that subject is basically the focus of attention. But yeah, that's why I say this one is not specifically the best when it comes to shooting portraits. I mean, you could try and shoot it with portraits, but it's not really what it's meant for. It's more for landscapes and environmental types of stuff. So yeah, that's why I would recommend this lens for. Yay. Should probably stop doing that, man. Right. Next up is the Sony 18 to 135 millimeter lens. It is an f3.5 to 5.6, and it is an OSS E-mount lens. This lens is super fire when it comes to videography. Like, we're talking affordable lens, and we're talking about lens to get started. When it comes to that type of video stuff, this is the lens that you want to get. This lens gives you a lot of versatility. For example, if you're shooting subjects that are far away in the distance, you have that type of versatility where you can stand here and you can capture somebody all the way like far away. So look, you can see what I'm talking about. So you can zoom it and zoom it and zoom it, and obviously it doesn't look like the length is long, but obviously on the camera it's actually zoomed in a lot. And so yeah, it's also really good for getting that like clean environmental and landscape shots. And you've probably already started to notice the lenses that are like f3.5 to 5.6, those lenses are basically the higher up the f-stop goes. F-stop just means aperture. Aperture is kind of like when it comes to the background, how like blurry or in focus the background is. And so yeah, the higher ones, those are the ones that tend to be cheaper, and like the lower f-stops, those are the ones that obviously are more expensive because it probably cost more to make. But yeah, this camera has autofocus, and I don't know if you can see in the camera here, but it has autofocus and it has manual focus capabilities as well. But yeah, this camera is a beast. Like, for the price that you can get it, I'm only gonna talk about cameras that I use personally. So based on what I've used and like for the affordability, this is the lens that I'm gonna recommend, 18 to 135. So this will do you for different occasions. When it comes to portraits, it's not necessarily the most ideal. You can obviously do like street photography and stuff, but I wouldn't say it's the most ideal lens for portraits, but you could still take some pictures if you wanted to, where you still had more of the background in focus as well. So yeah, defo cop this camera. I'll have links in the description for all the cameras for all the camera lenses that I'm talking about. The links will be in the description as well. Lastly, we're going to be talking about a bit of an alternate lens. This lens is the Canon 55 to 250 millimeter lens. It is an I believe this one should be also an f3.5 to 5.6, but I may be wrong on that, but I believe that's the correct one for it. But yeah, this has image stabilization features in the lens, and you can turn it on. As you can see here, you can turn the image stabilization on and you can turn it off as well. This lens is really good for shooting outdoors and for shooting sports, and also for shooting video work in general as well. The reason I bought this lens in general, because basically I thought I needed a zoom lens for shooting at a distance. This is when I only had the 50mm. I thought I needed a zoom lens also for shooting at a distance. But then I just found myself using the nifty 50mm lens more often. And basically, even for video work, I used to use that, not just for photography. And yeah, what I used to do is I just zoom with my feet. Like I was telling you earlier, zooming with your feet. And yeah, however though, like, you know, if you're somebody that prefers to zoom with an actual lens and you don't like moving around too much, then yeah, this lens is proper. Definitely recommend this one if you're one of those type of people that, you know what I mean, you're a bit lazy and you just want this, like, I mean, like zoom type of. Anyways, I also use this to take group shots of people at a far distance for me. I'll put a photo of an example here on the screen so you can kind of see what it can do if it comes to shooting people and how I managed to use it. Because when it comes to group shots, if you wanted to capture everything, sometimes with a 50mm you can't really get everybody in that shot. But yeah, that is the last lens I'm recommending in terms of affordability and the high quality you can get. These are the lenses that I recommend to you. So yeah, these are my main camera lens recommendations right now when it comes to getting started in photography or videography. And yeah, even when you're shooting professionally, you can get some pretty fire results when shooting with these lenses. And yeah, just keep in mind also that when it comes to these lenses are just tools for you as the creative. And you know, it's just basically different lenses just help you get the effect that you want. And so yeah, like, you don't really need to be spending crazy money on these lenses. And the ones that I've recommended to you, these are the lenses that I say you should get. And I'll have the links in the description to all these lenses as well, where you can get some really fire quality results with these lenses. So yeah, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more creative content, and go watch the previous videos in this series if you're a creative person, you know, who wants to get started in photography, or you want to become a professional photographer / videographer. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.